Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's meeting of the Committee of Adjustments. This meeting is to consider applications for minor variance and consent held under the authority of the Planning Act of Ontario. The role of the committee is to review the proposals that are before it, consider the evidence provided, and make a decision based on the 4 tests established by the Planning Act. In order to conduct an effective and efficient hearing, we've adopted the following process. Tonight's meeting will be live streamed and available for future viewing on the town's live stream image page at oakville.ca/live. People attending this committee meeting are to be courteous and respectful of the members of the committee as well as town staff and others in attendance. We ask that cellular devices be switched off at this time or at least maintained on silent. All remarks and questions are to be directed to the chair. All persons wishing to address the committee are required to provide their name and address. A maximum of 5 minutes will be provided for each speaker. Any submissions beyond the 5 minutes will be at the discretion of the chair. Any materials presented to the committee for viewing will remain the property of this committee. Persons seeking a deferral or withdrawal of an application will be invited to do so at the onset of the meeting. If a request for a deferral is granted, it is the responsibility of the applicant to contact the Secretary-Treasurer regarding the scheduling of a new hearing date. At the request of the committee, the applicant may be asked to provide a brief presentation and answer any questions that may arise. If the applicant has concerns with recommendations and proposed conditions found in the staff report, this is the time to advise the committee. All persons who wish to support or oppose an application will then be given an opportunity to speak to the committee. In the interest of efficiency, groups sharing the same view are asked to select a spokesperson, and individual speakers are asked to not cover the same points as those who have already spoken. The applicant will then be given an opportunity to respond to comments made by interested parties and answer any additional questions from the committee. Discussion will then be closed and matter taken into committee for a decision. Once the committee has made an oral decision, any person desiring a written copy must file with the Secretary-Treasurer a written request for notice of the decision. A green sheet is provided on the table at the back of the room for this purpose, and only those filing such a request will be given any subsequent notice of any appeal. Notice of the committee's decision will be mailed to the applicant and anyone who filed a written request, no later than 10 days following the decision for minor variance and 15 days for consent. If you do not agree with the committee's decision, you may appeal the decision to the local planning appeal tribunal. The last date to appeal will be noted on the decision. If no appeal is received with the prescribed time frame, the decision of the committee becomes final and binding. The applicant and anyone who received a copy of the decision will then be notified by written correspondence. Thank you. So the first item on our agenda are regrets. We have Mr. Ian Flemington, who is not here tonight. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interests? I see none. Thank you. At this moment, I will take requests for deferral or withdrawal of applications, and the earliest deferral date that we have on record is July 9th, provided that you provide everything to the Secretary-Treasurer within the prescribed time frame. Good evening, Mr. Outred.
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair. For the record, my name is Bill Outred. Address is 2140 Winston Park Drive. Just here to ask for a deferral of application C of A 73, 2019, the one at 137 Westminster Drive. The reason for the request for deferral is we'd just like a month or so to have some conversations with planning and reduce variances number 2 and 3, and hopefully be able to obtain planning support for the variances. Okay, perfect.
Are any questions of Mr. Outred at this time? No. Mr. Outred, just one moment. Who is here for application CAV 073 of 2019 at 137 Westminster Drive? Show of hands. Okay, I see none. So we're happy to take your motion, make a motion for deferral, considering that you're going to speak to town staff and hopefully come up to something that's agreeable to all parties. Any discussion on the recommendation for a deferral? Okay, all those in support of a deferral? Okay. Thank you. Your deferral has been
granted.
Thank you.
To no specific date, just we'll get to the Secretary-Treasurer when we have the revised plans. Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Okay, is there anyone else who would like a deferral? Okay, hello.
Yes. Hi.
Name and address for the record, please.
Sure. My name is Sab Al-Mathnou. I'm from QBS Architects, 1670 Bayview Avenue, and I am here to request a deferral for application number 74, 2019 for 1192 Tisdale Street.
Very well, thank you. Am I pronouncing this right? Mathno?
Yes.
Okay. Who is here for application CAV 074 of 2019 at 1192 Tisdale Street? Hello. Are you here in opposition or support? You're in opposition. Okay. Given that the applicant is here to request a deferral to work with staff and figure out the items of variances, the application may change. But what I would advise you to do is upon leaving, you can discuss with the neighbor and
Sure.
see what he'd like to know in terms of getting you more information, if that makes a better use of your time. And we appreciate you being here. Very well. Anyone else? No. Okay. So, oh, I didn't see you. I'm sorry. The screen is in front of me, so I did not see your hand. Sorry?
For this application.
For this application. Okay. Any discussion on the applicant's request for a deferral? Okay. All those in support of a deferral? Thank you. Your application has been deferred. You will see the Secretary Treasurer when you're ready to have the new plans and everything sorted out.
Thank you.
Very well. You're for a deferral.
Yes, my apologies for that.
It's okay. Name and address for the record, please.
Jerry Chisler from MHBC Planning at 442 Brand Street, Burlington. And I'm here on behalf of the owner for 1048 Valley Crest Circle. That's application CAV A077 2019.
Okay. You said Mr. Chestel?
Chisler,
Chisler. Okay.
T-C-H-I-S-L-E-R.
Okay, Mr. Chisler, just give me a moment to canvass the room. Who is here for application CAV 077 of 2019 at 1048 Valley Crest Circle? Hello. You're here in opposition or support, sir? Okay. Mr. Chisler, I'm assuming you're asking for a deferral to continue your discussion with town staff, or?
That's correct.
And okay, with respect to the noise of the air condenser, correct?
That's right, with respect to the noise bylaw infraction, which we weren't aware of before we saw the staff report.
Okay, very well. Sir, when we're dealing with a deferral, it's not open for discussion. What I'd like to do is offer you an opportunity to speak with the applicant if this deferral is approved by the committee, and then you can have a discussion outside, and hopefully they may deal with it and not even come back to the committee, or have to come back with a different set of application, and then we would have a different approach from staff. Mr. Hassan, I know that you had mentioned that the bylaw staff, enforcement staff would be here in attendance. Is that still the case?
To you, Madam Chair, unfortunately, bylaw staff did not attend the meeting just because we knew ahead of the meeting that the applicant would be requesting deferral.
Okay, very well. So then, I don't know if questions will help right now. I think we should reserve our questions when they come back, because that application might change unless it's of Mr. Hassan.
It's for Mr. Hassan.
Okay, go ahead then.
Through the chair, a question for planning services. Is there a remedy in the short term?
Oh, we can't discuss the application if
all.
we're going to defer it.
Okay.
No.
All right, thank you.
Sorry, we can't go into the details of the application at all if you're going to defer it, because it will change, and then it'll come before us again.
Thank you.
Is there a discussion on this recommendation to defer and have more information provided by staff? I see none. Okay, all those in support of the recommendation to, or the request for a deferral? Okay. All right, all those opposed? Okay, so there's 3-1. Your application has been deferred. I urge you to speak to the neighbor on your exiting the building, so that to see what his problems or concerns are, and it'll make for a smoother transition when you come back with your application, if you do come back.
Yep, certainly.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would request a deferral or a withdrawal of the application? Okay, I see none. So we will start with the first item on our agenda following the two deferrals. That's CAV 075 at 462 Riverstone Drive.
Good evening, Mr. Chair.
Good evening. Your name and address for the record, please?
Yeah, name is Ivers Koulides, 25 Minnicott Avenue, Scarborough, Toronto.
Mr. Comitas, do you have a business card that we can provide the Secretary Treasurer with?
Yeah, I'll find one. Yeah, I
Okay,
got
am I
mine.
pronouncing your name correctly? Do you mind spelling it for the
Yeah,
Secretary
K-
Treasurer?
I don't have him on record as being an agent, that's why I'm asking.
Okay,
I've been here before as agent for other properties.
no,
so-
but are you an agent on record for the Riverstone Drive application? Because she doesn't have you on
That's why I
that.
don't have the spelling or anything of your name.
No, I wasn't the agent at the time when the application was put in.
Okay, so you are
But
the
I work
acting
for
agent now.
Lifestyle Sunrooms, and I'm the agent representing the owner, yes.
Okay, so can we get your information? We need,
I will
don't have
write
any
it all down.
authorizing
do you
him.
have an authorization for the Secretary Treasurer?
I don't have one, but
Does he ha- and
I'll
don't
give
have
you
a
my
business
card with the information after.
It's up
Okay,
to you,
but
Heather, how you want to
Then you'll
handle
have to
it.
stay for the whole meeting. Like, so you don't have do you have a business card now and I'll just get it? Oh, you don't have yours? Or just your, oh yeah, this is your name, right? And this is your, yeah, this is your date, right? For my stuff, okay. But I guess where we could get in touch with you.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I'll leave my phone number at the back.
Okay, that's great. Great, thank you very much.
Heather.
Helping with the pronunciation.
Mr. Kalidas.
Oh,
I got it. Kalidas.
My client would like to build a sunroom addition and is hoping that you can approve the rear yard setback for the
I-
variance.
Yes, Mr. Kalidas, let me just canvass the room to see who is here in attendance for this application. CAV 075 at 462 Riverstone Drive.
Right?
Okay, so there's nobody in attendance. Yes, we're aware of your application. We understand it's a rear sunroom addition and that staff are in support. Have you familiar with the recommendations that staff have recommended?
Yes?
Are you in agreement with them?
All of them, yes.
Okay. Are there any questions of Mr. Kalidas at this time? Or items of clarification? No. Mr. Kalidas, if you have anything further to add to this application, you may do so right now, but we are familiar with your application and we're happy to take this matter into committee if you are satisfied.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there a recommendation? Go ahead, Mr. Hardcastle, you can start us off. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Having reviewed the written materials and submissions by the applicant and undertaken my site visit, I'm satisfied that the requested variance conforms with the four tests of the Act, finding that the rear yard reduction will have minimal to no impact upon adjacent properties. And as such, I'll put forward a motion of approval subject to two conditions. The first being that the rear sunroom addition be built in general accordance with the submitted site plan and elevation drawings dated February 23rd, 2019, and that the approval will expire within 2 years of the date of the decision if a building permit has not been issued for the proposed construction. And in the cases where a building permit is not required, that the proposed scope of work has not been completed.
Thank you, Mr. Hardcastle. Is there a discussion on this recommendation? I see none. All those in support? Okay. The application has been approved, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, application CAV 076 of 2019 at 350 Spears Road. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Darren Smith. I'm the agent for the owner. My address is 389 Pearl Street in Burlington.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Who is here in attendance for CAV 076 of 2019 at 350 Spears Road? You are here in opposition or support? Very well. So you are going to address the committee? Very well. Mr. Smith, if you can take us through your application. We are familiar with it, but for the benefit of the public and maybe perhaps answer any questions that may arise out of the application.
Certainly, thank you. We're applying for 4 variances right now. The one that, first variance is for the garbage enclosure. The lot is a corner lot and has some restrictions to it with the road widening that's happening on Spears Road, parking, drive-throughs, and other such amenities. We've been working with the planning staff for about 1.5 years now to come up with what we feel is the best solution, best optimal solution for this, to utilize this property. We've shrunk the building several times to get drive-throughs. We've agreed with planning to develop a garbage enclosure that is a roofed, bricked, solid masonry structure so that any concerns that they have in regards to that are addressed. So we've done our best, and we feel that that location where the garbage is, containment unit is going to be is really the only viable location for it because of the setback requirements for a corner lot. The balance of the variances are really minor in nature. I won't get too much into their detail. Again, a lot of this has to do with working with the planning department for the last 1.5 years with setbacks and landscape buffers, and their biggest primary concern was the landscape buffer between the residences to the south of us and the property, and we've continued to adjust the building envelope and its location to best accommodate and to obtain that 7.5 meter setback or landscape buffer. We managed to accommodate it for the last little bit of the one property portion of the property to the east, in which we went from 7.5 to 7 meters, just because the way that the front property and the rear property taper. So in the end of the day, we feel that these variances are minor. We're hoping that you will support our application, and I'm open to any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Are there any items of clarification? Mr. Talowski, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Smith, just for the benefit of the neighbor that's in the audience, perhaps you could put the site plan up on the
Certainly.
screen and point out where the variances are that you're seeking?
Certainly. So this is Spears Road along the side here. Because of the road widening along Spears Road, we basically have a 0 lot line along this property here, and as a result, variance 2 and variance 4 speaks to the 0 lot line and landscape buffer is missing. The planning department is in support of it because there's going to be a significant amount of property there that's going to help create that buffer. The landscape buffer across the rear here between the parking and the property line to the south of us, which is the residence, requires a 7.5 meter setback. That setback or landscape buffer is 7.5 meters until it hits about here, and it's about 7 meters. And it's just because the properties are not parallel. And we've orientated the building parallel to the street. So as we work our way back to the property, it's just the parking lot, the drive-through and such. Because it's a corner lot, the narrower the 2 lots, more than becomes your front yard. And as a result, this being a rear yard setback means that the garbage containment unit, which is located in the back corner here, is actually within our rear yard and our side yard because we require a 15 meter setback from the from the residential area. So with the way that the property is orientated, having the garbage containment unit in this back corner is the least obstructive and most easily accessible from a pickup and disposal context.
Any further questions? Go ahead, Ms. Marie.
Yeah, question, Madam Chair, for planning staff. How do we reconcile the comments from the municipal enforcement services?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, as the agent alluded to, through the site plan review process, the garbage enclosure, which was a wood structure, will be fully enclosed to a brick structure. in order to deal with the mitigating factors of noise, smell, and other pests that could be associated with the garbage.
Thank you.
This is the second round, right, for the site plan? Okay, so all these things. Are there any other questions? Okay, Mr. Smith, I'll invite you to sit down and we'll hear from the neighbors and
Thank
then you can answer their concerns. Who would like to be the representative?
My name is Tracy Bennett.
Okay, just when
Sorry.
you're at the mic and ready, because it needs to be recorded properly.
No problem. My name is Tracy Bennett, and I live at 409 Morden Road. And
Morton?
actually, I think we're okay now that we've heard more about it was the garbage. That was our biggest concern. And knowing that it's going to be fully enclosed with brick, then it shouldn't be as much of an issue. We're concerned with the odors potentially for all of our neighbors.
Very well, so I'm glad you were able to answer any of your questions.
We're good. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, you had it easy. Okay, so if you're satisfied with the conditions that town staff have recommended, we can take this matter into committee.
I am, thank you.
Very well. Mr. Talowski, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I'll move this application be approved as applied for, finding that it meets before test of the Planning Act. And the majority of the variances are technical in nature due to the frontage being considered Morden. And I believe the applicant and staff have come up with the appropriate solution with respect to the setback for the garbage containment. I would make that approval subject to the two conditions requested by staff, that the building and the garbage enclosure be built in accordance with the final site plan approval, and that a building permit issue within 2 years. And I'd also note that there was a resident in attendance and that the presentation satisfied their concerns.
Very well, thank you, Mr. Talowski. Is there a discussion on this recommendation? I see none. All those in support? Your application has been approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Next item on our agenda is CAV 054 of 2019, deferred from April the 23rd at 349 Stanfield Drive. So,
Good evening, Madam Chair. For the
good
record, my
evening,
name
Mr.
is
Capper.
for the record, my name is David Capper with Glenn Schnar and Associates. Our mailing address is 10 Kingsbridge Garden Circle. Unit 700, Mississauga, Ontario, L5R3K6.
Very well.
And
Who is here for application CAV 054 at 349 Stanfield Drive? Are you here in opposition or support? Opposition, okay. Mr. Capper, go ahead, sir, and take us through for the benefit of the
Thank you, Madam
neighbors
Chair.
and answer all the questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you can see in the air photo in front of you, the municipal address is 349 Stanfield Drive. It is a corner lot at the corner of Shelby and Stanfield. There's a single variance that is before you this evening, and that's a variance to permit an increase in the maximum permissible residential floor area. The maximum permitted under the bylaw is 37%, and our client is seeking an increase to 38.94. By way of the math, that would result in an additional 20.79 square meters, or roughly 223 square feet of additional floor area. As you did mention in the opening, this application was deferred from the April 23rd meeting. We did not receive favorable comments from staff for the original application. We've since gone back and revised the design to mitigate some of the concerns that were identified by staff. With respect to the changes that were made, forgive me, this is the site plan. The building was reduced in width so that it created a greater setback from the northerly property line. It was also changed in terms of the design along the northerly facade. So the resultant change is this is the front elevation of the building. This is the rear elevation. This is the north side, so this is where the majority of the changes were made in the elevation through reducing the roof line in the rear and creating more articulation in that facade of the building. And then finally, this is the south elevation. So in a nutshell, that's the application that's before you this evening. I'm happy to answer any questions, should there be any.
Are there any questions of Mr. Capper at this time? I see none. Okay, we'll ask the neighbor to address the committee. Would you like to share your concerns with the committee, ma'am?
Well, I don't understand this really. I
Um,
don't know too much about it.
Okay, well, let's start with your name and address.
It's, my husband is John and Luann Wydrick, W-Y-D-R-Y-K, 343 Stanfield Drive,
3
343 Stanfield Drive.
Stanfield Drive, okay. So you are the
Neighbors.
immediate neighbor to the property, okay. So do you know why you are here?
Nope.
Okay, so basically, the neighbor next to you is going to build a new home, and they have a request to increase their floor area with about 1.94% from what is usually acceptable on the bylaw, which is 37%. So they're asking for 38.94%, which is essentially the size of about 224 square feet extra inside the home. So he's shown us the drawings and how the house is projected to look and once it's built. And they're asking us to approve that small variance.
When you say variance, I don't know what that means.
So,
Is that taking some of my land, like?
oh, no, they actually are not intruding on your land at all. There is no side yard setback. There's no front or rear yard setback that they're going to be encroaching on. They're actually within all their setbacks parameters. It's just a matter of an increase in size of the actual home.
Oh, I see.
So if you walk around Stanfield and you kind of see the sizes of the homes, what Mr. Capper is saying that it's, I'll let him kind of, I don't want to do his presentation for him, but I'm trying to make you understand that that is why we're here today, is they're building a home. There are certain rules and bylaws that they have to adhere to when they are building the home. And if there is anything that is stopping them from staying within those boundaries, they have to request permission to do so. And that permission is really what they're asking for, and that's the variance. So maybe we can ask Mr. Capper to kind of comment on how it would affect your home, and that will give you a better understanding of your home versus the home that's going to be built next to you. Because he tried to do that in that presentation, but you're somehow not understanding it still. Am I correct?
Yep.
Okay, we'll try and get you some more information. But really, it shouldn't affect your home at all. It's not going to be sitting on your land. It's not encroaching on your property. That's not what they're asking for at all. But we'll let him kind of address the committee, and maybe there's more.
May I ask a question?
Yes, Ms. Murray has a question for you.
I have a question for you. You've come tonight to share information or concerns, and what might they be?
Well, the thing is, I didn't know too much about it, so I
Okay.
called the city here, and they said you go to the meeting and you'll find out. I just want to say I'm 82 years old, and I don't understand things like that. I've lived there for over 50 years. Like
And that's what
55
we're here
years.
for. We're here to get you the information that you need.
Yeah.
So we'll do that. Mr. Capper?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Perhaps I can, for the benefit of the neighbor, so everything that I'm going to show you here is on the screen above us. So, Madam Chair, I'm just going to point out very quickly by highlighting.
Hold on one second, the screen, if they can just get your presentation off so that the screen can go back. There, perfect.
So, Madam Chair, I'm just going to highlight the location of, sorry, your name, I didn't catch that. This is,
Luann Wydrick.
Ms. Frederick, this is the existing dwelling. This is your house right here. Right, so this is the property line down here. So none of the development is occurring on your property. Here's your frame shed here, your shed. The red shown in the image here is the existing building. The black outline here is the new building. So this part of the building here is the part of the new building that's going to be closest to your property line. So this area that I've highlighted here looks like so this is, it's the garage. So that is the portion of the house that is closest to your
The
property.
garage that's there right now.
This is the new one.
Oh, a new one.
Yeah, so the existing
Are
garage
they
is right over
tearing the
here.
place right down?
They are tearing it down,
Oh, I
yes. And so it is a single-story house right now, and they're tearing it down and they're building a new two-story dwelling. So what the architect has done in his design is he has eliminated any windows in the portions of the building that are closest to your property line, because he doesn't want people looking out into your property. So where there are windows, they are set back further from your property line, and they're in an area where there is no, like your house more or less lines up here. So this is sort of your backyard, and that's the portion of the building that's furthest away. So I can leave these with you. I can't leave you the floor plans.
This will be on the side of your house, you know where this spare room is? That's where the garage is gonna be.
Yeah.
It'll be coming out, it'll be coming, you know how there's a little piece of grass? There'll be less grass there, I think.
Well, as long as it's not interfering with my place.
Absolutely not. We're not allowed to do that. So I'll tell you what, I will leave these with you.
I was watching, I could see better on the screen.
So there you go. This is what the town has, and this is what was submitted to the town through our application. So that's an extra set for you. There you go. And hopefully, if that answers all your questions, if there's
Ms. Friedrich, I'm sorry. If you're going to speak, you have to be on record. So I think Mr. Capel will have plenty of time to answer your questions when you leave.
My daughter, if she understands more than I do.
Okay. I hope that we've answered your questions and given you the information you're looking for. Is there anything else that we can answer in terms of questions that you may have now that you know the information that's being presented?
Well, the thing is, once I look at the drawings, we'll see what's what.
Yeah, and they're within their rights to build that house. They're allowed to have a two-story home. They're allowed to have the setbacks as they are right now. They're not crossing any boundaries. So what Mr. Capper is showing you is what you're going to see at the end of the day. So now we have to take this matter into committee and make our own decision. If you're comfortable and we've answered all your questions, I'll ask you to sit down, and then we'll address Mr. Capper. Okay, very well, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Unless there's any further questions from the committee. I
No,
think
are there
I've-
any further questions of Mr. Capper? Ms. Murray, you have a question?
Town staff.
Of town staff. Mr. Hassan, you're up.
Mr. Hassan, I've noted in the comments, there is still appears to be some concern. Could you share with us or elaborate on the concern?
Through you, Madam Chair, which concern would that be
Sort of.
exactly?
I may have read that wrong.
No,
No, we're good.
no, it's not on this application.
Apologies, thank you.
Okay, so Mr. Capper, if you're familiar with the proposed conditions and you're satisfied, we'll take the matter into committee.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Thank you very well. Who would like to move a motion? Ms. Murray, go ahead.
Madam Chair, having conducted my site visit, reviewed the applicant's written submission, as well as the town's written staff report, which I note the staff is in support of, having also taken into account the comments presented today by the neighbor this evening, and noting that at this point in time, with the drawings having been shared, there don't seem to be any objections. I'm prepared to make a motion to support the application with the requested conditions, that the dwelling be built in general accordance with the submitted site plan and elevations dated May 17th,
2019.
2019, although the plans I have are February 15th, 2019.
It might be in a revised, at the top, maybe.
My plans are February 15th. So,
Mr. Capper,
I'm sure there's a revised.
May 17 or?
Here.
Through you, Madam Chair, you should have a site plan, which is your front page. That's the one with the red
Yeah.
and black and white. The date on that should be March 17th.
Revisions?
oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
It is
It was-
correct, I apologize.
Yeah, there was a slight revision to reflect the correct front yard setback.
Okay,
Okay, very well. Thank you.
thank you. So that the dwelling be built in general accordance with submitted site plan and elevations May 17th, 2019, and that the approval expires 2 years from the date of the decision if a building permit has not been issued for the proposed construction, and in cases where a building permit is not required, that the proposed scope of work has not been fully completed.
And it's May 7,
That's what I'm
2019.
just checking.
It's May 7.
Yeah.
I think she wanted to say
No, I-
2019, and she said May 17,
No, and then I
2019.
wanted,
Yeah.
and then I gave him my comments, and I'm like, I can't check that.
No, it's May 7,
Seven.
2019, on
Okay.
record. May 7, 2019. We got it, right?
Yeah, put Brandon put.
If I may, Madam Chair, just so for absolute clarity, you should have a set of drawings where the site plan is dated May 7th, I believe.
Yeah, she said the submitted site plan and elevations dated May 7.
Your
You don't want elevations in there, you want site plan.
Both are fine.
Both are in
I just
there.
want to make sure you've got the correct dates,
Yeah.
because your site plan was revised on March 7th, and you should have a set of plans that are February 15th for the floor plans and elevation.
Oh, okay, so should we reword that, Mr. Hassan, then?
Just two different dates of the drawings that are submitted.
Because the way it reads to me now, it's site plan and elevations, May 7.
The elevations, Madam Chair, the elevations that we have submitted and that we have reviewed for the purpose of this meeting are also dated May 7th, 2019.
Okay, so we're okay. All right, so May 7, 2019. Any discussion on this recommendation? All those in support? Okay, your application has been approved. Right, we have minutes for May the 21st to confirm. Who would like to move the minutes for May 21st? Mr. Hardcastle? Thank you. A motion for adjournment. Mr. Hardcastle at 7:30. Who went up first?
I thought I saw you.
Okay. Well, no, I called Mr. Giles.
Okay.
So, 7:38.